This is Mulligan Stew, the podcast. Music, film, food, and wine. Those are the four streams of information that I cross and have done for 50-some years. I've been friends with Sloan for a long time. Actually, I think Chris Murphy is going to say how long it's been, what kind of a band they were. He described them as punky kids. I thought they were great. I thought they were funny. As funny then as they are now. We're talking about Sloan. And interestingly enough, just like Mulligan Stew, where I do music, film, food, and wine, Sloan have four members, and they have been writing songs for themselves and then for the band for 27 years. They've just released their 12th studio album. It's called 12, and they each wrote 3 songs. And listen to what Chris says about the songwriting and how they get it done. They have a year and a half, 2 years between albums to write 4 songs. Because Chris is the archivist, so to speak, for the group, I want to ask him about what was the best year in music. Was it 1968? Was it 1965? Because I'm going to be doing a special on that. And what is the secret to holding this band together through 12 albums and 27 years and many, 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 many dates and tours? They're on the road now, and that's where we found Chris Murphy from Sloan. Hello, Chris.
Thank you, Terry. Right on. Thanks for having me.
And you're in the CKUA Edmonton studios, aren't you? Is it clean?
It's awesome.
Okay.
They built this building brick by brick. Do you know that whole story?
Yeah, I love that story. But they had to go find an Italian brick layer in Italy to come over and tell them which bricks went where because all the numbers rubbed off.
Is that true?
It's true. It's true.
That's great. Do I need to expand on that story? Are we leaving people in the dark?
No. We're going to talk about, let's talk about an interesting, first of all, thank you for the music. It is absolutely fantastic. It's astonishing that you come up with a collection of 12 songs that are as good as anything you have done ever. It's fantastic. I just want to know, do you feel that way, or do these songs still have to win you over one at a time?
I must admit that a year ago when we talked about doing it, I didn't know what the value was of making new music this far in when we're putting 12 new songs or however many into an already crowded set list, and how many new songs can people absorb when they already want to hear whatever the songs that they loved or songs that came out at a time in their life before they hated their lives, or the songs for which they are nostalgic. It's difficult to compete. We were validated pretty early on, and people love our second and third records and fourth records a lot. So we know that it's hard to compete with those things. And even if we wrote Bridge Over Troubled Water this year, people will be like, that's great. What about that song that you wrote in 10 minutes in 1993?
Yeah.
It doesn't offend me. Like it's, I'm an older guy. I get it. But we're just sort of keeping our head down and trying to create a giant body of work that I sometimes joke that I say, I'm not making music for you people. I'm making music for rock journalists in the future, because that's who's going to ultimately care.
Wow, how cynical.
I appreciate your kind words, though, Terry, in the present, and I'm proud. I think our band is. I can be self-deprecating, but I also think we're one of the great bands. I'm proud of our work, and I don't know how many people are talking about us, but people have said nice things about this record.
Are you better than the odds?
I would never say that. Those guys have become my buddies, although at the time I would have said yes, because I was a snooty kid. You met me. I remember the first time we talked to you, we were still awful and a little gang and from Halifax, and I, the odds to me were like too grown up. Their music is too grown up. They got a review one time in a Toronto magazine that referred to them as the Arch Deluxe of McDonald's hamburgers, meaning, I don't know if you go back there, but it had a Kaiser bun. And I think the point was, it's a hamburger, guys. You don't need a Kaiser bun.
Okay, I want to ask you about the very interesting exercise that you went through. When you did Commonwealth a couple of years ago, you each got a side to the vinyl, 4 sides. Everybody got room to move and lots of space in which to let their songs shine. And then you come full circle to basically a band album, 12 songs, 3 by each of the members. Everybody gets their voice again, but it's done in cooperation with each other. How did that exercise work between the one being separated and the one being put together?
In early years, we would sometimes get negative comments saying, although I didn't take it as I didn't interpret it as negative. People would refer to our records as compilations, where I read one review one time of a record of ours. It was like, yeah, it starts with a real ball stomper, and then it careens into some Captain and Tennille baloney. And so I love the juxtaposition of the different writers. We've taken great pains to invest in everyone as a writer and be a four-headed beast and be the Beatles or be Kiss, one of these groups with four people that can't be taken out of the equation. And so you're right. So on the Commonwealth record, we each took a side, so it's almost like 4 mini EPs. It's like Kiss doing 4 solo EPs, except for the mistake they made was they sold them separately, and one of them was a big hit, and 3 of them were turkeys. So that basically was the end of their band. But we sold ours all together, and it was fun. I enjoyed having 17 minutes to sort of put 5 songs and arrange it however I wanted and make a song suite. But I feel that what Sloan really is the juxtapositions, a Patrick song that rocks and goes into a Jay song that's like more of a 70s AM sound. And I really, the compilation thing never struck me as a negative aspect. I think it's what makes us who we are. It's what makes a record that people know, like Revolver, the Beatles' Revolver. It's part of what makes that so great. We basically have been trying to redo the Revolver and the White Album 12 times, basically.
Do you have that guitar in your hand?
I have a guitar in my hand.
I
am the bass player. Remember, I'm the bass player. So if you hear some guitar buffoonery, I'm the bass player.
Does the guitar have a name? Did you call it like Smokey or something?
It's funny. We have a guitar in our arsenal called Smokey, and it's a Telecaster. This one's called the Drifter. My bass is called Tina, which I don't have here because of Tina Weymouth from the Talking Heads, who had the same bass. Now here's one. My other black bass is called Mama Coco from the Gino Vanelli song. Do you know that song?
I do.
It's the most offensive lyrics ever recorded. I'm a fan of Gino Vanelli. I think he's a heavyweight player and singer, but the lyrics on that thing is just unbelievable. I'm not going to say them.
By the way, I am going to ask you before you leave today, the greatest year in rock and roll. I want you to sort of put that off to the side, but I don't want to surprise you with it. But
I already know what it is.
We're going to talk about that in a second. Spin Our Wheels. It's the first single from this album called 12, and you have that guitar. I was wondering if you could entertain us for a moment.
That's right. This song is in E, and I'm gonna go down 2 whole steps or whatever you call it to a C, so it's going to be more of a countrified version of it. Are you ready?
Thank you.
I was feeling ill from sitting still, so sick of my routine, in a bungalow like a typical teen. I was hoping there'd be more, then you knocked upon my door, wanting to go places I'd never been. What did I know? Ready, let's go. There's only so much time we can kill here before we start to spin our wheels. I've had time to run, but I'm still here. You can't imagine how that feels. We talk the talk, but to walk the walk is easier said than done. And even though we were ready to run, I never saw the greener grass, never grabbed the ring of brass, nothing to show, flying far from the sun. That may be true, but if I've got you, there's only so much time we can kill here before we start to spin our wheels. I've had time to run, but I'm still here. Can you imagine how that feels. With your support I can hold the fort while others leave town. Don't mind if they go, if you'll be hanging around. There's only so much time we can kill here. And when we start to spin our wheels, if I ever need you, you're right here. We can't imagine how that feels. Watch us while we spin our wheels.
Is that a little Joni Mitchell lick in there?
A little bit of A Case of You in there, which we covered on a Joni Mitchell tribute album in 1993. We did a real grungified version. It's awful. It was a terrible version of it, but I'm a huge fan of hers.
That voice belongs to Chris Murphy from Sloan, live at CKUA Studio A. They are currently touring, the band, not Chris, but the band and Chris, Western Canada in support of their new album, 12. And let me see. I know for a fact that tonight you're at the Starlight Room at Edmonton. Tomorrow night, I love this, the Silver Buckle Sports Bar in Medicine Hat.
Oof.
And then Friday.
Whatever, that's great.
And then you come down the spine of Vancouver Island, Tuesday in Campbell River, Wednesday in Nanaimo, Thursday in Victoria, and then hang a left and go Friday into Vancouver at the Imperial. So if you're at a Silver Buckle Sports Bar and the hockey playoffs are going on, do you have to go up against the monitors?
A lot of our guys in our, I'm not so interested in hockey, but a lot of the guys in our entourage will be watching hockey and have little setups at the sound booth and stuff like that. One time we played at Lee's Palace in Toronto the day that the Blue Jays won the World Series in 92 or 93 or something like that. And everybody was watching the TVs, and I was like, should we go on? Should we bother? And I was like, well, we'll just wait until the game's over. And then they won, and then everybody left.
I want to ask you a couple of things, Chris, about just the makeup of the band, because I'm a long way removed from you, and I can't assume that I'm going to know everything about how this all works, because I'm fascinated, having watched this unfold, that for 27 years you guys have been able to find a way to make music together and remain friends. I mean, there's times when you're not, and then there's times when you are. There's more times when you are. So everybody has their songs and their voice. How does a song pass the audition at Sloan? Sloan to you. What has to happen?
We started out more like a democracy that people might think of, where everybody had to like it and that kind of thing. And we sort of evolved into more of everybody's kind of in charge of their real estate. So, you're allowed to bring up to a quarter of the material. If you don't have as much, I usually step up and write the fourth and fifth song or whatever. But we all get paid the same. We sort of invested in a scenario where everybody would be equally interested in the band, so that nobody was Sting writing Every Breath You Take, and then everybody's like, when are we going on tour, Sting? And he's like, never. So we're all in the same boat in the good times and bad, and our political statement or whatever is to just like invest in people, and they will bring you stuff. And whereas I was kind of the principal guy, I was the sort of central character who knew everyone. And so it was, in some ways it was my band to give away, but I was interested in everybody writing. And in the end, I'm not the writer that brought in the most money, as it were, even though, Patrick, had I done everything, then I wouldn't have had Patrick's songs, which made us the most money and got us the most recognition or whatever. So I think it's probably worked to our detriment in some ways, because some people can't picture who the singer is of our band, or they'll see us on TV and they're like, I don't know who that guy is sometimes. But we've probably had the most commercial success with Patrick and me and then Jay and then Andrew. But in my mind, Andrew's the heavyweight musician, as a guitar player, keyboard player, and drummer, and Jay is kind of the heart and the driving force of the band. So I really feel like everyone is equally important, and it's a sort of asymmetrical balance that definitely is why we're here all these years later, because we're all in the same boat. And of course we argue, and I think days go by when I don't speak to some of those guys.
Of course. You talked about the set list and how who wants to hear what in the audience? I mean, how far back do you go? What songs absolutely positively must be performed on the night?
We've played a song called Money City Maniacs every night since we wrote it in 1998, and we actually haven't been playing it on this tour, and that's partly because we've been sort of hopscotching this. We do a re-release of an earlier album, and then we do a new album, and then we do a re-release of an earlier album. So we're sort of we're eating our tail, some might say, but in some ways we're celebrating our legacy. So we've re-released our 1996 record in 2016, and we released our 1994 record in 2012, and we buy ourselves a whole tour doing that. And the next one that we will probably do is our 1998 record, Navy Blues. So what we usually do when we know that's in the pipeline is we put all of those songs in the vault, as it were, and we don't play them, and then we'll come back and we'll play them all next year. You're
the archivist, aren't you?
Jay and I are competing archivists, but we've got a pretty good collection, and we put out the reissues, which we do as like ridiculously like 3 record set, and tons of demos, and a 32-page book, and a 13 by 13 box, and then we make a 7-inch, and then some other whatever fun ephemera in there, and basically just so that we can, even if it didn't make financial sense, we would do it anyway because we collected all this stuff. So what else are we going to do with it?
Last night in Calgary, Chris, by the way, I'm talking to Chris Murphy from Sloan in Studio A at CKUA. Last night, you started the second set. You remember last night? You remember?
I do. Well, how are you going to know? What are you talking about? You have intel?
I have the set list. Set 2, you started with "Don't Stop If It Feels Good," and you ended the second set with "If It Feels Good, Do It."
Right. It's a sort of joke on that song. That song actually, "Don't Stop If It Feels Good, Do It," is is self-referential, a glass onion, if you will. But it's actually from way back at that time. It's from a million years ago. So actually, the songs that I have we have a lot of songs, because if you have 4 writers and you put out a 12-song record every 2 years, you basically are on track to write 1.5 songs per year. And we've been able to do it. And we have a backlog. We have a whole bunch of songs that I know about. I know a bunch of Patrick songs, or Jay songs, or Andrew songs that they haven't released. I know that they exist. We've demoed them before. So when we were making this record, as you said before, we wanted it to be more collaborative. So I wanted to pick songs that I had that were lying around that I knew that the other guys had sort of touched. Patrick helped me write that one. And Spin Our Wheels, Patrick helped me write that one. So I wanted to make it as collaborative a record as it could be after our sort of like essential solo records with Commonwealth.
It makes much sense, Chris.
But yes, it's a joke on ourselves. We're talking about another song, "If It Feels Good, Do It." Yeah, we played both songs.
Chris Murphy from Sloan. They will be tonight in Edmonton. At the Starlight Room, tomorrow night, the Silver Buckle Sports Bar in Medicine Hat, and next Friday at the Imperial in Vancouver. How many of the tunes from 12 are you doing?
I'm nervous to tell you. We play 2 sets, so it's an evening with. But we have been playing 10 new songs, which sounds punishing, but I think they're immediately accessible. I'm an apologist. I'm apologizing for it, even though I think that they're great. And if a new band were to come and do all these songs, they wouldn't be apologizing. My problem, of course, as you know, I'm basically apologizing for the songs that I guess are not in the set that people may be expecting. But we also go across Canada playing greatest hit sets all the time at festivals or whatever. I think the thing is we're coming through town every 18 months. We want to make it different enough that people would consider going to see us every time.
Of course, and bring their children.
Now the kids are coming, yeah.
Okay. By the way, I think "Gone for Good" off the album reminds me of Buffalo Springfield. I love that.
Yeah. Andrew's big into Stephen Stills.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see that he's going to tour with Judy Collins. Have mercy.
Really?
And I absolutely love the fact that you put "Wish Upon a Satellite" on the album. I just think it's a great song.
Oh, really? Do you want me to try that one? I have to sing really
can you
high.
remember the lyrics?
I can. It's just I would have to sing high. I basically have to scream. I could try it, or I could try an old one, whatever you want to do.
No. It's totally your call. One more thing. I want to ask you about 44 Teenagers because of the reference to Gord Downie in it.
Yes.
Can you just set us straight in terms of what the song is trying to say to us?
Well, Andrew wrote it, and I saw that he got me in to sing all over it. He let us sing harmony everywhere. And so the line is, just the other day I was reminded of the many ways Gord Downie died. And so Andrew also has an inside thing because his kid goes to school with Gord Downie's kid. And I think that he might be talking about the fallout in the family. It's like I see a kid in my head who will be seeing red until his anger yields to pride. I was nervous about saying Gord Downie. I'm yelling Gord Downie died in harmony. I was like, does this sound flippant? Like I just would never want anyone to interpret it as I don't know what, anything but reverent or whatever. Reverential? What's the word?
Yes. All right. I know that May the 2nd you're going to be at the East Coast Music Awards. Congratulations on the nominations and the playing. I love those awards.
Yeah.
One of the things that came out when the last tour happened for the Hip and Gord's passing, one of the comments that was like you saw in every other interview and just comments in general about how the fact that they finally came to grips with the fact that they were not going to have a career in the United States like they did in Canada. And it got better from that point on for them. And you went through the sort of same experience, I think 2006, never hear the end of it. I think the quote was, you stopped trying to make it in the U.S. and just became Sloan. Is that correct? And how does it show itself today?
Okay, so definitely that was said at that time. I believe it's Patrick's quote. I don't think my feelings were that far off the mark. I would always want to downplay my aspirations. If there is part of me that feels that in the way that REM resurrected the Velvet Underground or something, that there'll be some cool band that's like, can you believe Sloan? Look how cool they are. And then we'll like experience some kind of renaissance. But barring that, and we were, so the Hip were ahead of us chronologically and always basically, but I remember thinking, I don't want a career like theirs. They're big in Canada, they can't make it in the States. I would rather be a cult phenomenon all over the world than be giants in Canada. And and we knew them peripherally, but I changed my tune, or I became happy to be known at all in Canada. And again, I'm talking about the Tragically Hip and these other like 90s phenomena, say the Our Lady Peace, these other groups, but they were all to be, they were 10 times bigger than we were. They selling 1 million records in Canada. The biggest we ever got was 80,000 records at our commercial zenith. And I still think I don't mind mentioning myself in the same breath, but like they were huge. They were huge and we were small. But I also and then I talked to my more recent sort of version of that. There's a guy, Damian Abraham, and his band is called Effed Up. I don't know if you know these guys. And he said, I was kind of lamenting the fact that we're dragging our asses up to Kingston to make money. He's like, I gotta go to Germany to make the same amount of money you make in Kingston. You'll be home tomorrow. You'll be home in a 2-hour drive. I gotta fly to Frankfurt. And so that made me think, you know what? As a family guy, I'm kind of happy that I just have to drive down the 401 and make the money that we make. Anyway, I'm as a younger guy, I was more ambitious and arrogant and wanted to make it. And I thought, we should have been bigger or whatever. But now, I'm just happy to be here still. I got my band intact. I got my marriage is intact. Like I'm a pretty lucky guy.
Wow, you have a life.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris. Oh, by the way, I lie. There is one more question. The greatest year in rock and roll, period.
Well, it's either 68 or 69.
How about 65?
Maybe. Do you have a list of things that happened?
Well,
help
that would be
help.
Everything that was happening in Britain, of course, the British invasion, everything that was happening in Los Angeles at the time with the whole country rock thing, and then there was Motown and Stax Volt.
That's all 65.
That's all 65.
I don't have enough of a.
Yeah.
Jay is more of a musicologist and knows what happened.
I'm going to find you on the road on Vancouver Island, and we'll continue this conversation. Okay?
I think 68, 69. Anyway, I will fight you on it. I'll do my research if you want to talk again.
He is Chris Murphy of Sloan. You can catch the band tonight at the Starlight Room in Edmonton, tomorrow at the Silver Buckle Sports Bar in Medicine Hat, and Tuesday in Campbell River, Wednesday in Nanaimo, Thursday in Victoria, Friday at the Imperial in Vancouver. Welcome them with your open arms, if you would. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Terry. I started thinking about the rest of my life. I found myself just looking out for trouble and strife. Someone with whom I'll spend the rest of my days. But if I ever said I wasn't set in my ways, well then I guess you caught me lying to myself. What kind of fool doesn't think about it? What kind of fool doesn't think about it? You'd have to be a fool not to think about it. Am I gonna settle down? Am I gonna be someone that has to take the rest of my life to settle down? Well, then I guess you caught me lying to myself. Make a man out of me. Know about the rest of my life. I know that I'll be living it in Canada. I know I said I'll share the rest of my days, but I was only going through a phase. Am I gonna settle down? Am I gonna be someone that has to take the rest of my life to settle down? I guess you caught me lying to myself. What kind of fool doesn't think about it? What kind of fool doesn't think about it? You'd have to be a fool not to think about it. Am I gonna settle down? Am I gonna be someone that has to take the rest of my life? Am I gonna settle down? Am I gonna be to take the rest of my life to settle down? I guess you caught me lying to myself.
A very charming man, Chris Murphy from Sloan on Mulligan Stew, the podcast, Music, Film, Food, and Wine. I'm sure you know that we're building an audience here, one show at a time. And we would ask that if you like what you heard and you want to hear more, just subscribe to the podcast via iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play Music. Thank you for listening. And just a heads up, we've got a great Molly Johnson interview coming.